Hello BookTube, I'm Jonathan and welcome to Words in Time. Now I think people enjoy reading for a number of different reasons, whether it's the stories, the characters, the ideas, but I think the books that really stick with us, the ones that end up being our favourites, are the ones that have the biggest impact on us. So I wanted to share the 4 authors that I think have changed me as a reader and as a person. And the first author is Kurt Vonnegut. Many years ago, I read Cat's Cradle, and in that book, Vonnegut explores a number of different themes, including free will, religion, technology, love, war and death, and what I really connected to about his approach was his honesty and his sense of humor. I think a lot of people struggle to make sense of a seemingly nonsensical world, and they really appreciate hearing Vonnegut say, "Hey, this doesn't make sense, right?" Well, we might as well approach this absurdity with at least a sense of humor. From there, I devoured nearly everything by Kurt Vonnegut, and while Cat's Cradle probably remains my favorite, Slaughterhouse-Five, The Sirens of Titan, Mother Night, all come pretty close. And a theme I noticed in several of his books is the feeling of loneliness and how people desire and deserve to feel connected. I want to read you one of my favorite quotes from The Sirens of Titan about an alien species called the Harmoniums. They have only 2 possible messages. The first is an automatic response to the second, and the second is an automatic response to the first. The first is, "Here I am, here I am, here I am." The second is, "So glad you are, so glad you are, so glad you are." I think this is such a beautiful chapter, and is something that resonated so strongly with me. I love how it emphasizes not just to be seen and to be heard yourself, but also to see and to hear others. And this is something that I've really carried with me ever since. Moving on to the second author, we have Arthur C. Clarke. Clarke is a classic sci-fi writer, known not so much for his characters or his prose, but more so for the scope of his ideas. I try not to get too focused on my own life, but sometimes it's easy to get distracted by your own thoughts. And something that I love about Clarke's stories is how the ideas he explores forces you to think not just outside of your own experience, but your own understanding. This is something I think Clarke achieves in different forms in Childhood's End, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Rendezvous with Rama. I want to read you this quote from Childhood's End. "In this single galaxy of ours, there are 87,000 million suns. In challenging it, you would be like ants attempting to label and classify all the grains of sand in all the deserts of the world. It is a bitter thought, but you must face it. The planets you may one day possess, but the stars are not for man." For some people, this might create a feeling of insignificance, but for me, I find it awe-inspiring to be a part of something so immense. It also provides perspective on how minute my individual problems really are. Next, with my third author, we have Dan Simmons. Simmons is a prolific writer that has written in a number of genres, but I found him through the Hyperion Cantos. The world building, the characters, the prose, I think are right up there with the very best in the genre of science fiction. But for me, what went beyond entertainment, that was something that I deeply connected to, was how he gave a physical representation to an idea that I think connects all of us. This is referenced and extrapolated upon in a number of the Hyperion books, but I wanted to read you this quote from The Fall of Hyperion. It's not a major plot spoiler, but it does reference this concept. "Love, that most banal of things, that most cliched of religious motivations, had more power, Sol now knew, than did strong nuclear force, or weak nuclear force, or electromagnetism or gravity. Love was these other forces, Sol realized. The void which binds, the subquantum impossibility that carried information from photon to photon, was nothing more or less than love." Whether it does so physically or emotionally, I think love, in some form, binds every person, every community, every living thing in the universe together. Dan Simmons took a universal yet impalpable concept and gave life to it in words in a way that I think helps me find connectivity with the world, and for that I am grateful. And lastly, we have Adrian Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky is another prolific writer that writes multiple titles a year in multiple genres, and of the couple that I have read, the one that had the biggest impact on me was Children of Time. It's a wonderful space opera with generation ships and an evolving spider society, but it's the themes that it explores that has really stayed with me. Here's a quote I want to share with you from Children of Time. "Life is not perfect. Individuals will always be flawed. But empathy, the sheer inability to see those around them as anything other than people too, conquers all in the end." Tchaikovsky didn't create the concept of empathy, but the idea that empathy goes beyond choice, that it's an inability to not see yourself in not just the people you know, but people that you don't know, or people that you may never know, is incredibly powerful. It's something that continuously inspires and moves me. I can honestly say that these 4 authors have changed my life, and I would love to hear which authors have done something similar for you. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe, or check out my top 10 Kurt Vonnegut quotes.